Hello, buddy. Welcome back to the show. I've got my new friend Doug here, and Doug is one of my subscribers, and I was lucky enough to run into him, I think, last week, and we started talking, and he agreed to come on the show, so I really appreciate you taking the time, Doug. Where are you from originally? Where'd you live?
I'm originally from Worcester, Massachusetts.
Oh, nice.
And then I moved to Texas about 10 years ago to help my sister with my mom.
Okay.
She had kind of progressively gotten ill, and it became a lot for my sister. So I retired from the department up there and moved down. And she has since passed, and so has my dad. So that's basically it until I got here.
So you grew up in Massachusetts?
Yeah. Yeah, I was born in Okinawa, Japan.
Oh, really?
My dad was in the Marine Corps.
What did he do in the Marine Corps? What was his?
He did some long-range reconnaissance stuff in Vietnam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
He was a veteran.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, he actually could have got sent home for the number of Purple Hearts that he had.
Really?
He kept going back. So.
Was he an officer or a sergeant?
No,
or?
he actually got a battlefield commission, but because he was colorblind, he ended up going back to being a sergeant. And he retired as a sergeant major after 32 years.
32 years, that's a long time. Wow. Yep. Did you ever think about going into the military yourself?
Yeah, I was in the Army.
Oh, you were?
Yep. And my drill sergeants wondered how he didn't kill me for choosing the Army. But I grew up with my grandparents, and he was on the West Coast, and I was on the East Coast in Massachusetts. We had kind of a long-distance relationship, you know. I always knew his presence, and I always could talk to him, but he just, you know, he wasn't physically in my life. You know, my grandparents were the ones.
So what did you do in the Army?
Nothing. Just, you know, 11 Bravo, nothing special, infantry. You know,
where were you stationed?
Down in South America.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then I transferred to one of the alphabet companies and did some intelligence work back when DARPA, which is Defense Army contractors that, you know, specialize in scientific stuff. They launched a bunch of satellites over that hemisphere, and they needed teams together to basically go out and set up the big receivers and stuff.
Okay.
I mean, now they have satellite stuff that's the size of your phone. Back then it was, you know, 4 guys and a big aluminum kind of umbrella, and, you know, it took a lot. But basically like Honduras, El Salvador, you know, back before it was friendly.
How long were you down there, or how long were you in the Army?
But I was doing that for a couple of years. You know, back then you could join for 2 years and get out. But I ended up transferring over to that before I even had a year in the Army. Yeah.
So what did you do after the Army?
Actually, I got out of the Army and I bummed around doing private security for a little while, and then I got a job offer from a small police department in Massachusetts called the Department of Mental Health Police. And basically it kind of started out like a campus police officer's job, like a hospital policeman. And then kind of morphed into, because I was kind of young and stupid, they got me into going after escapees from the mental hospitals. So we did that for a little while, and then we actually got somebody from the capture list, and we ended up arresting somebody that was with him that was actually an escapee from the state prisons.
Wow.
So the state prisons came to visit us to pick him up, and I found out how much they were making, and quite a bit more than I was. So 30 days later, I was working for the state prisons.
Wow.
And I did that for 22 years.
Now, what's that like? It's like you get up every morning and then you go to the prison for work. I mean, was it a maximum security prison? Or?
It was the largest medium security in the state, called Norfolk State Prison.
What's the difference between a medium and a maximum?
The freedom that the inmates have. The general population at a medium security prison, at least at mine, it was set up like the Harvard Yard. It was literally a quad where you had buildings in a square, and you would have 60 to 70 inmates. By the time I left, there was 60 inmates to the building. When I first started, there was usually around 40 buildings, 40 inmates to a building. Sorry, and 9 or 10 buildings.
Did you have any like murders or?
Yeah, occasionally. It's not like the movies. It's, you know, in a medium security setting, a lot of them have already done a lot of time in maximum security, and they have come down to the medium section, and they want to stay there.
They earned it.
They have a lot more freedom, so they have a lot. usually have a lot more control over their emotions.
Okay.
Now, the maximum security, Walpole, I think they call it Cedar Junction now, that place is going off all the time. You know, there's fights, because everybody's coming directly from the courts to them. So emotions run high, and you know, a lot of young kids kind of clashing with the older guys, etc. You know, but for
Did
me,
you have guys that were there for life?
Oh yeah, you actually have whole units. 7-2 was actually a unit that the whole entire unit was lifers, and those units were actually pretty easy to run for the most part as an officer.
They kind of accepted their situation, and
again, they want a peaceful rest of their lives, so they have their kind of internal workings. You know who the bosses are in the unit. If you have a problem, you usually go to them, square it away. You know.
Did you ever have anybody escape?
Not from there. While I was there, we had a couple of attempts, and one actually got the rope on the wall and got up to the wall, and it broke.
Oh.
And the officers in the towers didn't see him.
Wow.
So he was able to sneak out, get to the wall, go up the wall. The thing broke. He fell down, went back to his unit, got back in bed.
How'd they find out about it?
People ratted him out.
Oh, okay. They get in a bunch of trouble for that, like years they added onto their sentence, or?
Yeah, I don't know what it is now. I think it was 5 years he got.
Wow.
On and after, which means he had to do whatever sentence he was doing, and then 5 more years. Where concurrent is you're doing a sentence and then you get another sentence, and you can run them both together.
Okay.
So, oftentimes people get long life, which is they'll get 20 years for one crime and then 30 years on and after for another crime. So that's 50 years before you're eligible.
And never
so
get
you're
out.
never eligible for parole for that first 20. So not likely you're going to get out.
So, you know, you got guys with life in prison. Are some of them, like, actually happy? Like, you know,
Some are institutionalized to the point where they won't make it outside. You know,
they don't want to be released.
no, they're actually afraid of being released, and also they get out and they'll create a crime so that they can go back in.
No
Because they
kidding.
just can't handle all the freedom and the change in technology, particularly the cell phone age. You know, and you get a guy who's, say, 10 years ago, he's in his 60s, and all of a sudden he's released to the street. You know,
Don't they help them, a halfway house, or?
sometimes, but sometimes a lot of guys will refuse to even do that. You know, because they don't want to leave the setting that they're in.
But when they go for parole, do they have the option of saying, like, please don't give me parole, I don't want to get out?
They can say no to parole. Any prisoner can say
they
no
can
to
turn it
parole.
down?
Absolutely.
Oh.
But once your sentence is up, it's up.
Huh.
You know, so it's not like you can just rent an extra room.
Wow.
You know, but if you haven't taken advantage of the step downs into the lower securities and getting used to being back out in the public, it's going to be a shock.
I think a lot of people don't realize that there's actually people in prison that are perfectly fine staying in prison.
Yep.
You know, you
Yep.
think it would be such a horrible thing, you know, but there's no mistreatment or stuff like that. The guys are treated humanely, and
Yeah, it's not like you see in the movies. The movies are creating a situation which, especially like what you see in the movies, I mean, some of the stuff would take years to happen.
Yeah.
That in a movie happens in 3 days.
right.
You know, I mean, I had 20 some odd years in, and a couple of like pretty good riots. You know, where the whole place was, you know, one really good one where the whole place was shut down. You know, helicopters and National Guard and all
Wow.
that.
What set that off?
It was over some work issues. I was actually a rookie when that happened, and half the class that I came in with quit that day.
Really?
At the end of the day, they quit, and the riot was probably 3 days long.
Well, when they have jobs in prison, like, you know, cooking, washing dishes, cleaning, whatever it is, they get paid for that?
$1 a day, and that's considered a good rate. When I started, you could have a job that paid 25 cents a day, and then you could have a job that paid nothing but had good time, so you'd get credit towards your sentence
Oh.
for, you know, the months that you worked. You know.
So like $1 a day, like what can you buy with that dollar? Is like there a commissary or?
Yeah, there's a canteen. There, when I started, there actually was a physical building You know, and the officers actually could have accounts there too, and it was cheaper to buy cigarettes there than it was on the street. And then it changed and got privatized. And
well, cigarettes are expensive now. What are they, like $15 a pack or something?
When I left Texas, it was $5.50 for a generic pack of cigarettes. You know?
So they'd have to work 5 days to buy a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah, but now they can't smoke. I think it was the late '90s, early 2000s where I was working. They banned all smoking.
All smoking,
even for officers.
It's kind of a good thing, though, isn't it? You know, for their health and stuff.
Oh, sure. Because the state's paying for all their health care. So, you know, if you're got to go for chemo because you've been smoking all your life, it's expensive.
What are they allowed to have in their cell?
It depends on what level of security you're at. At my prison, which was a medium security prison, you could have a TV and, you know, your mail and books.
Would you have to buy your own TV, or did the TV come with it?
Most of the time, you would buy your own TV through the canteen system.
Well, that'd take a long time to pay for that.
But if you worked for the unit, a lot of times the officer could manage to get you a TV, a loaner. You know, things like that.
What kind of channels? Was it cable or just?
You believe it or not, in my prison it was cable. I mean, it wasn't HBO, but it was still cable.
Nice. Did you ever make friends with the guys?
Yeah, it's hard to work there for 20 some odd years and not have some friendly acquaintances. But you do have to remember they're inmates. They're there for a reason. They're there because there's a victim out there. You know, and it's not easy. I mean, I found myself advocating for guys sometimes when I probably shouldn't have. And, particularly if they work for you, you tend to be a little protective. You know, if they're doing a good job for you, it's like any boss. You know, you kind of, or any good boss, you take care of your people. But you have to also remember they're still inmates. You know, they're not. It's not like in the military where, you know, they're your squad. You know?
Did you ever get attacked or anything? Assaulted?
I got in a couple of things in the Max block. I got in a couple of rows with guys, but nothing like, you know,
nothing like the
major.
movies.
No. And it's happened. I've seen it. You know, guys get hurt, but it really doesn't happen in the medium security setting that often. The maximum security setting, where they're just coming in from the courts and stuff like that, it happens quite a bit.
Do the guards get paid more at maximum security prison than a minimum? No, same price?
Right now, the starting salary for a corrections officer is $63,000 in Massachusetts.
Wow.
And you do 20 years and you get to retire with 50% for the rest of your life. Plus any military time adds percentages to that.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And you also get health and dental for the rest of your life. And eyeglasses.
Well, that makes it worthwhile.
Yeah.
So you didn't, did you enjoy your job?
Most of the time, no. Nobody grows up and wants to be a CO unless their father was a CO.
Yeah.
And usually it's, if there's other options, they take them. I fell into it. I had 6 girls and a boy, and then I had 3 nieces that were living above me in my 3-decker. So
you were married at the time?
Yes, yeah. First marriage lasted 20 years, and this
what happened
marriage,
there?
Just I kind of went one direction and she went the other. And
how many kids did you have?
I personally have 3 girls and a boy.
Were they all grown?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And then I had my 3 nieces living above me for a number of years. So I was kind of de facto their dad at the same time. Kind of looked out for them.
How did you end up what was going on in your life to make you just want to come to the Philippines?
Well, when I moved down to Texas, I met somebody and I got married, and she had a son. And about 3 years ago, about 6 years ago, I actually started drinking too much. And that was affecting the marriage, and I was trying to get a handle on that. And I finally managed to, but the damage was kind of done. And also there was some serious problems with her stepson that had actually nothing to do with my alcoholism. It was kind of, he was 20 when I met him, and he was so pampered by his grandmother that he didn't know how to make scrambled eggs.
Wow.
You know, or do his own laundry. So I kind of became the evil god of his universe, because his mother was working 16, 20 hours a week as a social worker when I met her. And I was like, she's not doing your laundry and cooking for you on top of working 16 hours a week, buddy.
Yeah.
You know? So the more I tried to instill in some kind of grow-upness in him, the more he resisted and the more problems it caused in a marriage. And unfortunately, Mom is very super nice person, too nice. Very enabling, unfortunately, so it didn't work out. And I'm still married to her, but I've been physically separated for 3 years, living in a different city. You know, and recently I came into some money, and I could either use that to get divorced, you know, basically without really her helping with the process and having a long drawn out process, or I could just get on with my life and get here. And I decided I needed to get here.
So how long have you been here now? Just a week?
Yep, I got to Cebu on the 23rd, and within that week, with your help, I got a scooter, I got a place to live, I've got a church that I'm enjoying, I've been to a Bible study group that I really enjoy. Things just...
You're making friends left and right, too.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's a God thing. That's the only thing I can explain it, and I don't know where you are religiously. For me, it's very important.
I got a bunch of friends in your Bible group, so like I'm not a religious person, but I'm not an atheist either. So, but there's a lot of really nice people in that group. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I mean everybody kind of moves at their own pace.
Yeah.
You know, I started getting back into church back in January, and it has made my life exponentially better.
That's fantastic.
You know? Yeah, so I sit here just in an attitude of gratitude, basically.
Oh yeah, I'm the same way.
For you, Paul's channel, Gio, Rike, you guys have been inspiring me for 2 years. You know?
Well, like Paul and Rike both, like, you know, I ran into Paul's channel. He didn't have a channel back then. He had a video he put on Facebook, and I kind of related a whole lot of things he was saying, and I messaged him. This is when I was still in America.
Yeah.
I said, hey, I'm coming to the Philippines. And he said, well, if you ever in Dumaguete, you know, I'll meet you, whatever. And I just ran into him like a month or two after I got here, and he just helped me out so much.
Yeah.
And then Rike, he did a whole video on where you live now, Dulce Vita, where I used to live. And I was staying
Beautiful place.
I was staying at a crappy Airbnb up on the mountain, and I watched Rike's video. I said, wow, if I could live someplace that, I would be happy. Yeah. And I went down there, rented a little studio, and stayed there for 2 years, and that's my whole life changed there, you know. So
I mean, I've been up the road to there 4 times, even though I don't live there. You know, I didn't live there yet. And every time I went up there, I would pull over just to look and see the scenery.
It's a nice little drive. It's so easy to go from Dumaguete up to Valencia. It doesn't take long at all.
And you were right. On the way up there, you can feel the change in temperature.
Yeah, you can.
You know,
it's
it's
so much
almost
cooler.
like somebody drew a chalk line.
It is. It is. Literally, you like hit this wall of cool air.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
But I'm just super happy to be here. Everybody's been really, everybody I've met has been really friendly. There's been like maybe 1 in 20, you know, expats. I assume they're expats that, you know, didn't talk to me at all.
Yeah.
And that was not here at Ground Zero. It was just kind of walking around the boardwalk. If I said hi, they just ignored me.
Yeah.
And, hey, you do you. You know?
Well, you'll find that, you know, in Dumaguete, when you'll find strangers, you know, the expats usually, they'll say, hey, how you doing? And it's like, in America or other countries, sometimes when a stranger walks up to you, they're trying to sell you something, or something's, you know, shady about the whole approach.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's like, I never saw you before. What's your name? You know, and they're just curious about who you are, and maybe this guy could be my next friend. And that's all they want. They want nothing out of you at all.
Very cool. I mean, I had one guy, David. He showed me around different places to buy food on, you know, a lot less expensive than on the strip. You know, on the boardwalk. And he also walked me over to get the scooter. When you said, hey, get a scooter, I was like, okay, I need to get on that. And I'm really glad I did. It opened up the whole town. Yeah. You know, I wouldn't have been able to go see the apartment without it. You know, because getting a little motorcycle taxi way up there is problematic.
Well, you know, not really. Those little tricycles take you anywhere. The problem is with the tricycle, if you're a big guy like me, I've come from the airport on a tricycle, and they got halfway up the road to Dulce Vita, and it just couldn't make it.
Out.
He threw us out with our suitcases and everything. Me and my buddy had to walk like half a kilometer up the road because we couldn't make it. Because it was like the 155, which got that steel cage around, must weigh 500 pounds, and you got two fat guys. So I mean, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the food here is fat guy friendly. The transportation is not.
No. Well, anyway, I'm so glad that you agreed to sit down with me. So nice to meet you, and it's so good to talk to somebody. You can tell that it's just going to work out great for you. And I've said it 1,000 times on my show. Anybody that's like former police, former military, even if it's just for a couple of years, for some reason, those guys hit the ground running. I think it's maybe the training that you've gone through, the discipline, and you just all of a sudden, these guys just do well here. Like everyone I meet that former military, former police, they do really well here in the Philippines.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I think maybe part of it is we're just used to the stupid factor.
Yeah.
That just Murphy just coming out and whacking you every once in a while, and you just
but they keep they're used to keeping their cool. They don't get upset about things that other people would blow their temper about. They say, okay, no big deal, I'll let it go.
You adapt and overcome.
Exactly. Exactly.
And, just really blessed to be here.
Yeah. Well, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing and sharing my videos. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Bye.